Alrighty, so week one items have now been graded and we move on to week two. So I realized this morning after grading all the work that was submitted last night that I didn't do something I normally do, and that is release content ahead. And so I just did. So I don't know what happened. And this is kind of the first week that happens for many, actually, I would say most of us, is that there's just so much coming at you that sometimes you miss things. So I am typically more understanding of myself and of you this first week. And as we move into the second week and beyond, right, let's all try to keep track of what it is that's going on around us in this class. And I guess what I would say is I get it. And part of, as with anything that you want to learn or anything that you want to grow into, it takes a certain amount of focus to do that. Like my goal is to get better at all aspects of that which I teach and get better at teaching. So in order to do that, I have to evolve. I have to get out of my comfort zone, and so do you. And it's good. Honestly, I think there's so many benefits that we get as getting out. So that's my little inspirational quote for the day. A couple things I want to say about last night's work, and then we'll look ahead to week two, and then just kind of keep an eye as what's happening for you in week three. So week two, it seems like, we have three items where you had to set up your GitHub and give me your username, set up your repos inside of our GitHub organization. And for most of you, GitHub is new. And so some of you, there's, I don't know even how many, I think it's at least 3 or 4 of you are taking this class while taking one of my programming classes. And I typically say, if you're struggling in getting those programming classes first week done, then 82 is a good place to start. But I also allow students to figure out what works for them. And hopefully, if you want to discuss, you'll know that I'm here for you to discuss those things with. Now, you might be wondering, Rue, I'm not taking those classes. How does this pertain to me? Well, they, in the programming classes, actually had to do what you're going to do in week 3. Okay, so just you can kind of see the momentum that gets built up. Now, this class is also a 9-week class, so it's going to go fairly rapidly. And I hope you are all considering taking the follow-up class of this, not with me, but with my wonderful colleague, Todd McLeod, who teaches CIT85. So, FYI. So in last night's work with the About CIT, most of you got that. Do know that with Markdown, and this was new for most of you, it's a simplified version of HTML. And you do want to use, I wanted you to use headings, and I wanted you to use normal text, just paragraphs, and it's just writing the content versus having a markup tag. So, but most of you got that. And then most of you got the Markdown thing. Do know this, the thing I'd want you to know about items that are hands-on, and hands-on means discussion, right? Is that well, not always, but that's why you read the information in there, is that if I do require you to do replies, I won't pre-grade your work. So what does that mean? I grade typically every morning, okay? And I typically am a very early morning person. I get up, I go to the gym, I come home, and then I start to work and I grade what is completed. So if you have not done the replies, I will not grade your work yet, okay? So if you want your work pre-graded, meaning graded before the due date, then make sure you do all the work. And again, there's a benefit in addition to pre-grading, knowing what it is if you miss something, you can fix it. Now, here's the other piece of this I want you to know, is that if you miss something after the due date, let's say you forgot a reply and I marked you off for that, and you're like, oh, I'm going to go do that reply. here's why, even though I like that you want to go do it, here's the policy that I have is if you are submitting late work, and in that case, you might think that's not late. Well, actually it is, because if you're completing the work, and then I consider that doing the work after the due date, then it's discounted 25%. Okay, in your reply, one of the things, if you want, you can say if you understand that or if you want to ask me a question about it. So if you miss something and you go back after the due date to add that piece, that whole item is considered late and discounted 25%. So the benefit to grading ahead. Okay, the thing, so again, ask me about that. The thing, though, I saw a handful of you do last night was in the Hello World. So the idea with the Hello World was that you put your photos and your print screens out on GitHub. And then you embed them into Canvas. Several of you just uploaded them into Canvas, and you saw a pretty big hit to your grade. Now, you might wonder, Rio, that seems like a lot. Well, it does, but I'm really trying to get you to understand the idea of embedding something from an external source versus uploading into Canvas. And it is an important web concept to get. So just, again, this is week 1, and I'm open to you fixing that. And you're like, oh, wait a minute, it's going to be late. So, I don't want to confuse things, but in week 1, I'm a little more understanding. So, and here's the other thing. We're coming into week 2, and this is week 2 attendance. So, and starting into week 2, if you catch this, you watch this attendance post, and I generally recommend you watch the attendance post and then move into the work, right? It just will give you that benefit, because the sooner you reach out to me and go, oh, you know what, I realized what I did and I'd like to go fix it, the more likely I'm going to work with you for full points or maybe not all of the late points. Again, trying to be understanding, right? Because I get that it's a lot coming at you. Okay, so as we look into week 2, now we're into your first regular week of the semester. So there's a Monday night due date, and I realize Monday is a holiday, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go look at our calendar, because I think I've accounted for this. And by the way, the calendar is a great thing to look at. Now I'm going to look at it. I also choose, because I can choose the academic calendar. Oh, and look at that. I did. So even though it says Monday night, the items are actually moved to Tuesday night. So Monday is a campus holiday. We're all offline, so to speak. But I want you to know that it is okay to work. Just know that, right, I'm not going to grade, or I'll not generally be around. But here where it says Monday night, that's actually going to be Tuesday night because of the campus holiday. So every week, right, every due date, which there's 2 of them a week, has 3 different types of items. One is more of a lecture where you watch things and you use Markdown in order to take notes. The other one is some type of hands-on experience. And then the other one is a current topics where we look at, in this case, it's a Stack Overflow developer survey. But those type of items get repeated. It's just different topics for them. Now, the other thing I want to say about this, and I was remembering it as I was talking, is that as I grade, I also give you feedback on those items. So and that's where if you've missed a piece of it, right, it's really important. If you want to see my feedback in your grade, you actually have to click on, I believe, a little icon. I wish Canvas would just show it to you by default, and maybe they're going to change this, but there is a little icon on the grade item, and that's where you have to actually click to see that feedback. So just know that I do give you feedback on the work that you submit. All right, because I didn't release week 2 ahead like I normally do, I'm going to go ahead and release 2 and 3 for you as well. So I'm not going to say too much here because these videos, and by the way, you're actually watching content that I recorded last semester. I organized the content. I curated. You've heard this term when you curate, you go out and find content. This is why there's no textbook costs in this course, which several of you told me that you appreciated. So the reason that is I go out and find content out there from people that I consider good presenters. And I've chosen some new content that you're actually going to see starting in week 2. So again, I don't need to cover that. I just really use these videos to connect with you and kind of talk to you about here's what I saw with the work that you just finished, and here's what I see going forward to kind of set that expectation and hopefully help you know how to work through this class successfully. So to summarize, this is a 9-week class. We have 2 due dates a week. Each due date has 3 items. Working ahead is a great idea because I will grade daily. And if you miss something, you will see my feedback and can fix it. If you do it after the due date, you can still submit it. It's discounted 25% for submitting it late. If you do something, if you missed it, but you didn't fix it until after the due date, it is considered late and graded such as that. During this first week, coming into the second, I typically am a little more lenient for that. So, just know that that's true. Okay, the last thing I will say, and I want to say this, and by the way, the way you am going back to what I saw with week 2, where you embed these, right? You can just say this. You can right click, you upload your photo into GitHub, right, into the public repo. Once you open it here, you right click, and I think we run into this again in week 2. You do copy web address, and that's what you use inside a Canvas. As an example, I'm going to just look at week 2 real quick, right? And actually, that would be good to talk about. There's always more to talk about. So in this case, I'm just looking for images, right? And if it says upload, but in this case, I'm going to go URL, right? And then I'm going to paste that URL in there. Cool. And we're going to talk about alt text. This is for readers, so you can also do this. You're going to embed this, right? So that's the way I wanted you to do that work. Okay, so just to show you that, the other thing is that even though, and I don't want you to change it if you created your repos with upper and lowercase, just know going forward, typically when you do that work, it's all lowercase. So attendance. So I'm recording this on Friday at the end of week 1. And at noon today, I will close off the comments to where you can't reply to week 1, but you can still watch it. So you have from today at noon, Friday at noon, until next Friday at noon to reply to attendance. Now, attendance is not part of your grade, but it is part of my reporting to the campus, and it is a way to keep in touch with what's happening in class. So I think of it as an important part. I've considered making more points for it, but at this point, I haven't. So anyway, you can see the content here talking about week 1 and just about attendance in general. So how do you reply here? So what I want to know in your reply, and I've already said one thing, there could be other things, but I really look for in your reply is, based on your reply, did I sense that you really watched the video? Because sometimes, and I get this, it's like, you're used to TikTok maybe. I don't know, not everyone. You may be used to very quick 1-minute videos. I don't do them. I typically do a little longer video, so I know sometimes it's hard to hang out. But like if you're sitting in class, this is also a point where you just tune in, right? If you need to take a break, come back and finish it up. But I really ask that if I'm going to take the time to do them, take the time to watch. That way you benefit from some of the, hopefully, gems of content, gems of wisdom, gems of how to successfully get through this class, get dropped through here. So many of you are on Discord. More of you could join. I look forward to moving into week 2 with you, and I'll chat with you later. Peace out.